so amusing to see the waves go crash down on me and drag me into the sea. Why is it so easy to be so indifferent to me when I wear my heart on my sleeve?
Welcome to Skechcraft, the podcast for art, games, and process junkies. I'm Rob Duenas, full-time illustrator and graphic artist Esquire. This is an unedited podcast, which means there will be cursing from time to time, so please be aware. With that being said, here we go.
Like a willow tree, getting pulled down by gravity. By gravity. My gravity. My gravity.
Gonna drink my coffee. It's not so hot anymore. Hey everybody, welcome back to Skechcraft, the podcast for art, games, and process junkies. I'm Rob Duenas, graphic artist, illustrator, Esquire, and welcome back. So this is my third time doing this. Actually, it's my fourth time. I'm going to say it's my third time because it kind of keeps in tune though with the SketchCraft 3.0. It turns out that the first time I recorded the podcast, it ended up way too long. I kind of threw in this game section, which I'm going to move into its own little separate podcast, because upon thinking about it, I felt that that discussion should be in its own section, because some people don't really want to listen to it. And then the second time I recorded it, this filter I use to keep on the microphone was not exactly clamped down properly. So there was a really weird rocking back and forth of the microphone filter thing while I was talking, and I couldn't take that for more than a minute. So, because I care, I went back and I recorded a third time, and I thought, hey, everything was great, and I didn't use the filter, thinking that would not be a problem, and it turns out it was pretty horrible. So I'm back, and I'm going to make certain that this time I don't move around too much, so the volume and the level of my voice maintains itself somewhat appropriately. I tend to speak a little fast, a little slow, a little high, a little low. I'm a little all over the place sometimes when I talk, so bear with me. I try. Let's move on to what's been going on. So the last time I left y'all, it was about 3 weeks ago, and I was going to put up a Making Monstroids podcast on Halloween. I thought that would be the perfect night. Very symbolic. And, well, life happened, and I got a big case of I don't care. I didn't care. So, what I did is I finally just admitted to myself that I was burnt out. It happens. Rarely. It takes a while. It took about a year, really. But between things that have been going on at work and the SketchCraft stuff, and the Game Cave magazine thing not working out, I just had enough. I remember sitting there one night working on Monstroids, and I was like, I'm just tired. So I went to sleep, and I felt better. And I went to sleep again the next night, and the next night, and the next night, and I got like 8 hours of sleep every night for almost 2 weeks, and that felt really good. And I started sketching more often, and I got really excited, and I started redesigning SketchCraft and getting up with this whole great plan for what I wanted to do, and how it was all pretty much on me, and I'd have to worry about, people not coming through, or, having lives, can't do stuff. And then I had some dental problems, so I had to get that squared away, and then I couldn't talk. So here we are. How are you all? How are you all doing? Glad to be back. So sometimes life happens, and we move on, right? But SketchCraft 3.0. So this is kind of a three-phase deal. The first phase is a big redesign, a rebranding of SketchCraft with some new goals and a new look. The second phase will be redesigning my DeviantArt. So the first phase entails the website, YouTube, Podomatic, videos, all the immediate stuff. And then the DeviantArt sort of the second big thing, because and the new site skin going live, so that's kind of tied in. And then the third phase is publishing. It will be the new magazine and sketchbook well, I'll get to that in a second. So let's start with phase 1. So phase 1 is pretty much complete. I have redesigned the entire look of Skechcraft. The only thing I have yet to do is print new business cards. But my original design for Skechcraft was kind of done overnight, and it was real rough, and I was, I like that sketchy motif, which is nice, it's all right. But, it sort of lacked a sense of polish, and as I got into the idea of trying to turn, instead of just doing a straight sketchbook, or even if I did a sketchbook, I wanted to have a look. I wanted Skechcraft to have a very clean, sort of, something that would be worthy of being in print feel to it. So I need to go and brand my own stuff. So I spent, about a week or so, maybe 2, sort of tinkering with that and building pages and working up designs. And I post a lot of that to the Facebook. So if you aren't on the Facebook, be sure you go to SketchCraft, the name of the podcast, SketchCraft.com, and you can see all my links are there to Facebook, Twitter. And on this Facebook site, I tend to post a lot of the process as I go through the design phases. So all that stuff is there, and I sort of designed the magazine format first, and then worked that into a new website design, and that'll be on the site. I'll link to that. And then I rolled that. Once that was locked in, handed off to my web guy who's recoding the site right now, Josh. He had to build the whole thing from ground up. Crazy as that might be. And then took that, and I reskinned the Podomatic, the Tumblr, the YouTube, made new title cards and stuff for the videos, and I got the column lobby cards for the podcast. And that's that. So that was a lot of work. It's tedious, Changing the look of the podcast is not something that I'll be doing often. So it'll be a while with this, but I think it's a design that can keep for a long time. It has sort of a faux retro feel to it, so it's a little future-proof. As the future moves on, this just keeps looking like it was a little bit in the past, but it's still probably a little trendy. Barring any major design shifts in the zeitgeist of America or the world, it should do all right for the foreseeable future. And I love it. The cream, red, and black scheme is something that has always been sort of appealing to me. I'm not into propaganda art per se. I know that has a bit of that, but I just like sort of classical retro kind of stuff. So that fits in. And then I sort of kept the pixel motif from Game Cave because one of the things that I'm expanding upon here is a games discussion. Not so much like a buyer's guide. Oh man, go on Xbox Live, buy this. But they're just things that really interest me in games, and that's why I got into to play into Game Fan and sort of led the way in a lot of the editorial, especially Game Fan, in terms of things we'll cover and stuff. So I've been covering this stuff in my own little world for a long time. So to be able to expand upon that and just be able to do 4 or 6 pages on, maybe Battletoads the arcade game and draw some fan art and do the layouts the way I want to and put them in the magazine, it's just fun for me. And I know a lot of people out there appreciate and really dug the work I did at Game Fan and would like to see me do more game layouts and stuff. So this is a way to do that and for it to be part of the show. So again, that'll be like a separate cast where I talk about games and stuff like that. We don't have to worry about that here. But in the meantime, I have been drawing. In the past week or so, I've been getting back into my groove. And I started with these speed paints. And I've been getting a lot of feedback from the website and on Deviant what I'm doing this for. If I'm just doing it for, me improving my abilities or it's for a project. And it's kind of both. I used to do a lot of landscape illustration in pencil. And when I got into comics, all the backgrounds obviously are penciled, and then you hand them off to I never got an inker, so I'd hand them off to a colorist, and they would sort of, do the best they can do within the time afforded. But as you draw things like paper and pencil and debris and stuff, that's a lot of work for them to color, and they have to flat and add specific little colors for all those things. Or generally, what happens is they tonalize it, and then do a little bit of rendering on top of that. And the budgets were so thin on those independent comics that the more backgrounds I drew and the more details I put into them, the more trouble it became for the colorists. And I tried to offset that by maybe going over their work when they got done so they didn't have to do as much, and that caused a lot of problems with me changing their art. And so then pay seemed to be an issue. So I would cut my pay in half and go, you'll get paid half. I'll make this much, you'll make that much, thinking that would improve, the incentive. But that didn't work out too well either. So now that I'm thinking about getting back into that, or at least moving forward with sequential storytelling from here forward, I want my backgrounds to be painted, and then my characters will be illustrated, either in a cell shade or, in a standard rendering style, but the backgrounds will definitely be more painted. So that requires practice, not so much for drawing, but for painting. So in order for that to occur, I just need to get the creative spark going again. So I've sort of limited myself to like 40, 45 minutes a day, sometimes an hour, doing that. I catch my ums every day. And then I've been recording them on Camtasia, and I started uploading those to the YouTube channel and posting the links again on the Facebook. So it's been good fun, and it will continue to be. If you have any questions about that, just understand that I'm not in a race to draw the most perfect perspective and construction and stuff like that. It's really just to be as creative as I can in as slim a space as possible, So these really would just be, it's like my roughies, when I do the tutorial cast and you see these roughies I start out with, they're not perfect construction and anatomy. It's a guide. And this would be, these would be guides, and as I go through and I want to start thumbnailing out scripts in color, I can build a color palette and I can get that going relatively quickly. So this will move from, just standard widescreen panels into full comic book pages as I go along in color. And I'll be able to sort of, I design in color, I see in color, I have something called synesthesia. I see numbers in color, I tend to memorize a lot of my daily chores based off color coding. So I have a really unique way of seeing color. Probably should have been a painter, but I didn't know that growing up. So I'm learning, I'm teaching myself, and it's going to be a process, but it's going to be an ever-evolving process. So I appreciate all the support, and I'm definitely going to be offering more prints of these in the future, or maybe I'll take them a little bit further. I have some people have requested those, so that'll be an option in the future. And that's cool, too, because, I enjoyed the world building just as much as drawing characters, if not more so. I actually prefer the universe to, the world of Masters of the Universe to He-Man. I could kind of care less, but the castles and stuff I love to do. So this is good fun. I can't wait to improve upon this and to get to a level. I think to get to a level illustratively with the color that I am now with my line art is the goal over the next couple of years. I think I'll do it. So with that being said, I want to move on to today's topic, which is sort of leads back into why I got burned out in the first place. And I want to read to you really quickly, this won't take long, a comment I received on one of the episodes about a month ago. So this is from Christine, 33 days ago. And Christine says, "Hey Rob, just listened to this podcast and can totally relate. That was Minicast 24. Is it the end, or everyone has a breaking point? Every day the past year I wonder if I should just quit design altogether. It is just getting so hard to work on other people's work and not being happy with the results after the revision process is finished. I feel like I'm just over it, and it's giving me too much anxiety to be worth the money. I'm just afraid that after closing shop with my freelance, that I will regret it and my clients will be with some other designer. I also feel like with creative jobs, there's no real answer. We can't go to a calculator and add numbers and check our work and be done with it. It's constant, either one project or another is on my mind at all times, so there is no quote-unquote time off. I can't even sleep on my own anymore because my mind just won't shut off. I'm constantly thinking of design solutions or how I'm going to make deadlines when I have so much going on at once, because we all have to take what we can get when it comes. So I'm so with you, thinking about working at Starbucks or something similar. Hope things look up for you. I'm a month behind on podcasts. We need to catch up on these others going. Good luck." So, hey, Christine, thank you for sharing with the cast. And as always, if you write, I will read. So let me talk to you. This is the part, though, that really interests me, and it's this line here. Either one project or another is on my mind at all times, so there is no time off. I can't even sleep on my own anymore because my mind won't just shut off. I'm constantly thinking of design solutions or how I'm going to make deadlines when I have so much going on at once. So this is the problem. I consider myself a pretty mentally tough individual. I can handle a lot. I enjoyed basic training. Right? Mentally, I have a problem. I can deal with this shit all day long. had a pretty interesting childhood. So it takes a lot to sort of get under my skin. And 3 or 4 years a game fan, or 2 years a game fan, and the whole thing with play, and even the monetary struggles that Dad incurred didn't break me down. But what finally did it in was this time off issue. And I want to sort of like to focus this conversation a little bit more. I want to bring up this article I found over at Business Insider. And what this talks about is, let me get this really quick. Let me get this. All right, I got it. So I'll have this link on the show links. And it's from November 14th, and it's people really believe time is money, and that's making everyone unhappier. So the basic gist is within the workplace, this paper written at the University of Toronto argues that these practices promote an economic view of time, the idea that time is scarce and should be thought of in monetary terms. That makes us less able to enjoy time off because we always think of it as losing money. Basically, when we think of time as a resource and connect that to money, we're more likely to constantly feel stress even when we're not on a deadline or under pressure. Stress levels are higher relative to historic levels despite the fact that we're not really working more. See, this is it. We think of time as a resource and connect that to money. We're more likely to constantly feel stress even when we're not on a deadline or under pressure. And when you are under a deadline and under pressure, well, then you're probably just going to give yourself a fucking heart attack. I basically... so what happened is now that I have the day job, we have constant deadlines. I mean, daily, sometimes things just appear and you're like, oh, well, hey, look, stuff's due today and we didn't even know. And we had weeks. So, okay, great. And this happens all the time. And so what happens is you constantly get into the sense of you're always doing wrong, right? You're never on top of anything. You never have anything in the bag. And you're chasing these crazy projects that you didn't even sign up for. And then I come home and I do it to myself again, right? With the freelancer, the SketchCraft work, which can be commissions or actual freelance work. So you start to think that every little bit of time has to be spent earning $1. And I really got into that habit, when I didn't have the day job money come in. So, friends, family stop by. You can't do anything. Hey, your whole family showed up. They're all going to Disneyland. You haven't seen them in 20 years. Want to go? I can't because I have to get this cover out. It has to be due by Monday. And if I don't do it, then, they're not going to be able to ship. And, it just comes to a point where you have to, where I have had to sort of decide, where do I want my deadlines and where do I want my goals? And for me now, with the situation I have set up, I have to go back to something I used to do that I've gotten away from, and that's I have deadlines at work, but I have goals at home. Now, if you're freelancing full time, you always have these random set of deadlines that are ever changing because work appears and disappears. To that end, I would say that your responsibilities are to pay your bills first and foremost. If that entails that means you have to get like a job during the day that will at least cover all your bills, right? And that's slinging coffee or whatever else you're going to do, and it ain't no stress off your back. You just come, you leave the work at work and it ain't coming home with you, then I say go for it. Come back and then create and build your art identity and only take on projects that mean something to you and take on the ones that are going to best further your portfolio and use each one as a stepping stone to something bigger and greater. As opposed to doing it full-time and then doing everything sort of in a half-assed, knee-jerk manner, either through stress or because the clients just have poor taste, and you keep taking on clients that have poor taste, and you get the credit for that shit being in your portfolio. I mean, it's happened to me before, where you sort of agree to do work for people, and they sort of want something that's so jerked up that you're like, man, this doesn't even look like I never do this, and now, you spend all this time, and you're like, well, I need the money, and then you get the money, and it took forever to get, and maybe they didn't even worth it, and you're like, oh, you could have done commissions, right? You could have got paid out front from people and just drawn random fan art, or if you're a designer, you could have designed, you could have set up some templates on one of those sites where you can, do WordPress templates or something, or stock art or something. You could have done anything other than deal with that jerkweed, and so So what I found, the reason why, for me, I find myself in those positions is very simple. And I've talked before on the podcast about competing with yourself rather than competing with the world. And I want to expand upon that a little bit, or re-clarify it, maybe simplify it down further than that. And the reason why I talk about this a lot is because I did this constantly. And I find that when I'm really, taking on too much, or I'm trying to turn a project into something that it kind of doesn't need to be, or I'm blowing something out of proportion, which we're all guilty of doing from time to time, right? You may get a logo and you're putting way too much into the logo project, right? The client doesn't even want that much, and they can be unhappy, and all you really had to do was hand them some jerky little thing and they'd be done with it. I want to try to put it like this. In the West, right, where I reside, the culture that I grew up around was be the best that there is, right? Be the best you can be, right? Be the best there is, right? Like Rocky, Karate Kid. I'm the best around, right? You're gonna be number one, right? And what that always built up to me was a sense of, okay, if I'm gonna draw a comic book cover, I'm going to be looking, right? I'm gonna be looking at all the great comic covers, right? that I ever grew up with, and appreciate and are creatively rewarding to me. And if what I'm doing isn't at that level or better, I'm a failure, right? Or I'm not good enough to be drawing comics, right? Now that's a really strange way of looking at the world, but it happens a lot. It happens to us all. I hear it all the time, and I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else. And so what I've had to sort of do, and what I've sort of learned over the years, is something that I sort of picked up from watching a lot of Japanese anime and movies, right? And Iron Chef. Really learned this on Iron Chef. And this was the term, do your best, right? And the Japanese call it ganbatte, right? Ganbatte, do your best. And I don't have to be the best. I just have to do my best. And when you're really trying to do your best, right? As opposed to trying to be the best there is, you'll find that you don't have to try as hard. That sounds strange. Doing your best, not trying as hard. How do I describe that? It's like the Speedpaint, right? I'm doing my best in 40 minutes, right? But I'm not trying to go and be a Ryan Church in 40 minutes, right? I'm not like, well, if I can't pull off a level of craftsmanship on a landscape painting, then I'm a loser and I can't do any of this stuff. That's sort of what I'm talking about. That you have to be realistic with what you can do, as opposed to doing a half-assed job because you took on a bunch of projects and you didn't have time to do them, or you shirked your time. Sometimes it's just shirking time and goofing off. Or it's because you're just not at that skill level yet. And that's okay too. Not everyone's looking for the next Jim Lee, right? Matter of fact, most people, honestly, when it comes to the bottom dollar, selling something to people is a lot easier than selling it to a publisher, right? So I had some people ask me about what I thought about a comic they were putting on Kickstarter, and I had a lot of, my words of advice on it and my thoughts were the same as the ones they got from publishers. But I would say that it's ultimately irrelevant, because if you put it on Kickstarter and people give you money to print, then they're happy. So you have to sort of you can't equate a technical level with the entertainment value, right? But you got to do your best. So for me, my best right now, right? My best in terms of furthering my art career is to make sure that at all times I am putting all my energies into being creative and not to creating stress creatively for myself, right? and to also try to pass that notion forward, because it's not some bullshit. I honestly, I really got to say that after a while, no matter how strong you are, and folks, if you think that just because someone has the word Image Comics under their name, or Aspen Comics, or Top Cow, or whatever you like, Disney under their name, that they're somehow making lots and lots of money and everything's great for them, you'd be surprised how many people have those little titles under their name. It could be art director, it can be Marvel, and they got bill collectors too, and they ain't living the grand life. You gotta be very careful. Brand association and corporate identity, don't equate riches. I mean, there are plenty of artists out there. You go look at them. You can find plenty of, stories. This Disney artist is, this Marvel artist never got this. They're starving. They're dying of cancer. No health, So my advice is your health and your livelihood have to come first. Art is a great reward. It's a great way to spend time. It's my entire life outside of actually living. So I want to continue to do it, and I want to continue to enjoy doing it. And I have a day job, and yeah, it's pretty creative, for what it is. I'd like it to be more creative. However, if it had to be less creative, that's okay too. It doesn't make me not an artist, right? Skill level does not, But what can't happen? What can't happen is I can't work myself to be something that one is unattainable, but so bad that I don't want to do it anymore. That's good for nobody. It's not good for you. It's not good for me. It's not good for your fans who want to see you make more stuff. Everyone has fans, and they all want to see what you're doing next. And if you can't create that next thing for them, then, think about that. You're letting them down. So, Ganbatte, right? Do your best. That's the best thing I can advise to you all. Don't have to be the best, but you got to do your best. All right. If you guys have any other questions, or you have anything you'd like to add to that, or share, or tear apart, or whatnot, please email me at rob@sketchcraft. That's the name of the podcast.com, sketchcraft.com. I'm going to have the games podcast coming up probably Wednesday night, and I'll be talking about Wii U and the future of gaming, because I think pretty much every major gaming site has it wrong. And I haven't seen this since the mid-90s with Nintendo 64. It's awesome. So, okay, I will talk to you all later, and look for the Making Monstroids podcast this weekend, Friday and Saturday. So it's going to be a big week for podcasts. So we'll all be talking to you very soon. Take care. Bye.